Hi, I'm Agnes Chung-Taldi. Welcome to this episode of Unfoodable Weekly. We are here at the Javits Center for the Summer Fancy Food Show. And right now we're talking to New York City's specialty food masters. And I have Lou DiPaolo of DiPaolo Fine Foods and Justin Phillips, who's the founder of Beer Table. So let's get started. Your business has been around since 1925, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, actually, the present shop we're in started in 1925, but we go back to 1910 with my great-grandfather. You know, we're 5 generations in the Italian food business in New York City's Little Italy, and we've continued the tradition for over 100 years.
And what made each generation of family want to stay in that business?
You know, it's a funny thing. Our business, we've always grown up there, and we've always felt that this business was more than just, it took on its own persona, its own personality. It's become part of our life, part of our family. We don't look at it as a store or not only a place to earn a living, but it's an obligation to maintain a tradition. And truthfully, through the generations, we've all had the desire to maybe try something else. I know me personally, I graduated college and majored in marketing, specialized in real estate. And I actually worked in real estate here in New York City's Madison Avenue. It was very lucrative, but it was not rewarding for me. And it was one day I realized that money not necessarily what makes you happy. It's what makes you happy is driven inside you. And working with my family, and that was the greatest reward that I've gotten, working with my parents, with my uncle, with my brothers and sisters. We felt a certain tradition that maintained it, and we're very happy since then.
And what kind of foods are you selling there?
We sell and specialize Italian food. Of course, we are originally an Italian dairy, manufacturing fresh cheeses. It started by my great-grandfather, brought that art from Italy. And we continue that, but today we represent the 20 regions of Italy through the foods of Italy.
Definitely expanded, for sure.
Sure, we've expanded over 100 years many times.
And Justin, tell us how you started Beer Table.
Beer Table began as sort of a tasting room for good beer, not a traditional bar. It was in Brooklyn originally. That location's gone now. But my interest was in presenting beer as an ingredient, as something delicious that has its place on the table, rather than as just something to drink in large quantities.
So how did you fall into this? You just loved drinking beer and you thought,
No.
I could do something? Okay, tell me.
Not at all. No, I was just generally interested in food, and I got very interested in wine. And while I was working at a wine retail shop, I met an interesting importer who ended up importer of good beer that offered me a job working for them. So I did that for a handful of years and then just realized, oh, this is really interesting. I love this, I should do this.
Can you tell me, I know you have several locations, can you tell me about them?
Yeah, so our 2 locations that we have open now are in Grand Central Terminal, a little tiny shop, just under 300 square feet, and then in Westfield World Trade Center, which is a little bit bigger, but it's essentially the same kind of tiny shop.
And are they sit down, or is it for people who are commuters? Because I can tell they're busy transit hubs.
Yeah, we're licensed as grocery stores. We sell mostly beer, but we also have food, mostly just interesting ingredients, things that would be good either to have with beer or just things that we find delicious and fun.
You have people taking a 6-pack on the train, is that
what's
happening?
Yeah, it's all taking to go. So.
I can tell that both places started from a place of passion. How do you kind of pass that over to your customers that are not as knowledgeable as you guys, whether with Italian foods or with beer?
Well, we like to give a lot of education on the foods that we're selling. It's very important for you. In the Italian household, as we grew up, it was always centered around the table. Everything was discussed around the table. Food was a very important part of communication. If you come into our shop today at DiPaolo's, you're going to notice our counters are waist high. They're waist high because they represent a table. They're marble counters, a table. We look at it as if we're sharing the food with you, but we're not only sharing the food, we need to give you the knowledge behind the food. So we welcome people that really have no understanding of a specific type of cheese or some olive oil, and we really cherish the opportunity to teach them. This olive oil is from this part of Sicily, it's this type of olive, it's grown in a certain type of climate, a certain type of soil. The trees might be 200 or 300 years old. Taste it. It's got that pepper finish at the end, at the back of your throat. the richness of that olive oil, smell the fragrance, like freshly cut grass, green tomato aftertaste. This is very important for us to convey that message. And we have very knowledgeable, we welcome the knowledgeable customers because many times we even learn from them. So there is a lot of communication that goes on in our place. Our attitude has always been not how many people we serve, but how we serve the people. And that's important. The knowledge, the quality of the knowledge makes it so you can go home at your table and share the rest of that information to the family.
And do you also try to impart that kind of beer knowledge or passion that you started the company with, the people that stop by and get some drinks and some?
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about sharing. For us, I think more ideas than actual information. We don't categorize or organize our shelf of beer by region or by style. It's all by flavor. And the idea is to encourage people to get into conversation, customers with us and us with them. It's not an exact thing, but the thing is like talk about it and say what you feel about these things rather than like this came from Germany, it's made with these things and you're going to experience this. Like that doesn't work for me. So
I mean, how is your team run? Do you find people that are equally as knowledgeable, or do you just keep it in the family? And how do you make sure they're conveying the right message or information to the customers?
Well, for us, certainly the core of our business is our family. We're into our 5th generation. Our children work with us. I work alongside my brother Sal and my sister Marie. And to understand, we many times like to hire people with absolutely no knowledge and no understanding, and we want to create a clone of us so that they can share the knowledge by learning through us the information and the technique of how to serve a customer properly. So we have a wonderful staff, and many times, even to this day, we have long-term employees that have developed the passion and the joy of working in a place, a family-orientated place. They become part of our family. And so it's not uncommon to have an employee for 30 years or 25 years or even 40 years working alongside us and become part of our family.
Great. What about you? Do you also have a hard time or have an easy time teaching your staff how to treat customers that walk in?
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement about beer right now, so it's not hard to find people who are enthusiastic to work for us, but I'm inspired by your story. I hope I can have people work for me for 40 years. But no, we have really good retention, and I think part of it is that it's finding people who are excited but don't necessarily know anything. And it's not that we need to brainwash them, but in a way we need them to kind of learn our way of talking about things so that we can all stay open-minded and experience like good beer without having too many bias against things.
And how important is it for customers to walk away learning something about what they purchased rather than knowing they just got something good? You want them to return, right? So do you try to give them a little bit of something while they go? A bit of knowledge, not just food?
Well, certainly we give them the knowledge. And we'd love it when they come back and they say, gee, I shared this with my family, I understand it. I'll have a piece of the spring Parmigiano. Do you have that spring Parmigiano today? And I'll have to say, well, today we're cutting the winter or the fall. Try that, you're going to find a little difference, and you're going to enjoy it just as much, including the aroma, the flavor being different. It'll still satisfy your palate. So it's very rewarding to us to see that they come back requesting something that we taught them about previously.
Sure.
And we move them on to something else.
Always something new to try, right?
That's right.
Is it the same way for you?
Yeah, direct parallel, except obviously it's much a younger company than his, but yeah, the idea is our inventory is constantly changing. We're so small and we're in a train station. We know that it's important to not always have the same thing when people come in. We don't want them to be stuck in a rut. So it's important to have the conversation and see, did you enjoy the thing I gave you last time? Here's something new you might enjoy since you had that. Try this. It works.
It's true. When it comes to, say, I'll bring olive oil up again. People will come in and I'll show them 3 different olive oils from 3 different regions of Italy and say, olive oil is like wine, or in this case, beer. It's boring if you're drinking the same one every day. Why not experience something a little bit different to increase your palate's ability to appreciate different sensations? And with beer, I'm sure there's a host of variations. And I mean, if you're drinking the same beer every day, that makes life pretty boring.
Yeah, I mean, I look at beer and wine like that, but I've never thought of olive oil like that. So now I'm definitely going to think of it in a new way. I mean, I feel like someone like me who didn't know a lot about Italian food, you might be intimidated walking into your restaurants, and even the beer. Like, I know what beers I like, but if I want to try something new, how do you cater to the amateur customer rather than your regulars that you call by name?
I really ask them to ask a lot of questions. Questions not to be intimidated. You know, adjacent to our food market, we have our wine shop, where we sell only wines and spirits of Italy. And if you think about going in and being intimidated about food, they're going to be more intimidated about wine, because, you know, most of the American consumer, they know Chianti, Barolo, maybe they know one other type of wine like a Nero d'Avola from Sicily. But, you know, Italian wine, you could drink a different wine every day, lunch and dinner, and not repeat it for an entire year.
Yeah.
So that's intimidating. Mm-hmm. And that's when you have to embrace the customer's questions and see what their desires are, and get them comfortable in saying, I'd like to try a wine from Calabria, or one from all the way up in northern Italy in Valtellina. So it's the same thing with the food. You want to give them an opportunity. We have 300 varieties of Italian cheese in our shop alone. When they come in, they have no clue of what to ask for.
Yeah,
we have
scary.
to sort of anticipate what their desires and tastes are. And that's the way to do it.
And you've tried all 300 cheeses, I presume?
Me, personally, I've tried more than 300.
Oh, wow.
I only have 300.
300 types of beer? By creating a connection, do you think that's how you get people to return? Is that the number one thing for you guys on getting return customers, or
Well,
what do you?
You know, longevity for us has been the key for our business.
The name has carried you.
Our name,
Yes.
our name has been is synonymous with authentic foods of Italy, and that's probably where we get most of our customer base. We have generations of customers that have shopped in our store for like, we're 5 generations. We have 5 generations of customers, and I still have some that have sat on my grandmother's lap when they were little children. They're in their 90s now, and they'll still come in, their children, their grandchildren, and even their great-grandchildren. And it's rewarding for us to see that you can keep a customer for 70, 80 years. That's pretty good. I mean, you know, you're bound to do something wrong in about 80 years.
You're doing something right. That's what's happening.
But as far as all said, our customer base is word of mouth, and one tells another, and when they serve our food, we want it to be perfect, especially when they're having guests over, because we want their guests to remark, where did you get this cheese? Where did you get this prosciutto? It's fantastic, and that's how our business has grown.
How do you get regulars to return?
Convenience is one of our keys, just because
your
we're right there in the
locations
train
are so
station.
good.
But the relationship's really important too. So because we are sort of the last exit before you get on the train, and people want to have a drink on the train, we happen to have something really special that we have to tell a story about, we make friends with customers quickly and easily. And you know, a lot of our regulars are there 3 to 5 days a week to buy their beer or 2 for the train, and we get to know them. We know their name, we remember what they've had before. All the folks who get 2 drinks, we'll typically give them something they already know and love and offer a new suggestion for something new, which keeps them coming back and keeps them excited.
Is that why you chose those locations on purpose for that reason, or were they just things that happened?
It was good luck with Grand Central figuring that out, and then once we latched onto it and realized that people would keep coming back every day, that it was something that I really wanted to replicate.
I know you guys deal with artisanal wares, so do you ever deal with bulk orders, and how do you deal with that? Or does that not happen? Is it just individual and one at a time, small orders at a time?
Well, for us, we'll get, many times people will give us multiple orders, maybe to send to family members throughout the country and all that. We'll certainly try to accommodate them as best we can. But basically, we're a retail shop that caters to the individual that comes in, and we spend the time, as long as it takes, to select the right product for them to take home.
What about you? Do you all ever deal with bulk orders, or is it?
For the most part, no. I mean, we will go out and about and do events where we'll serve beer to a crowd and do things like that, but not typically big orders, no. Or more
And
slow.
I know you guys curate your special things that you want to sell to your customers. How do you choose what businesses to deal with, or how do you pick the products that you're going to put in your store?
Well, You know, I sell mostly Italian products from Italy. In the last 40 years or so, I must have made about 80 or 90 trips to Italy, developing relationships not only with producers of products, but also where they source their raw material. For me, it's very important to see from ground up. I need to see the farmer. I need to see the person who handles the production in the case of the animals, and the cheesemaker, all the way down the line, to develop a relationship so they understand who I am, what I'm looking for as far as in quality, to understand how the product is supposed to be so I can present it to the American consumer the right way. So it's a matter of doing a lot of homework, as you might say, traveling to the country of Italy to select the most authentic products and bring it back to the American consumer.
Because of all that work, do you find yourself getting new suppliers more often, or do you try to stay with the ones that you have?
Well, over the years I've developed many relationships with people, but we are always aware of the surrounding providers of products, and we're always interested to select new products or continue with the same products we have at a much higher quality. We'll always be looking for that as well.
How about you? How do you choose what businesses you work with and what products you put in your store?
There's some similarities in the early end of my business, where I did do a lot of travel because of working for an importer. Developing relationships with suppliers was critical to what we do. But today I would say most of our decisions are based on deliciousness. Beer in general is, so it's a loaded subject. I mean, we can get really political about who we buy from because who just got bought out by Anheuser-Busch or whatever, and we could think about that constantly to decide what we're going to put on the shelf. But what it comes down to for us in a practical way is when we taste together and we taste blind, what's delicious. That's the key for us.
And try to keep a good variety.
Try to keep an expansive variety, try to keep it interesting, keep it changing, and make sure that we believe that it tastes really good, even if it doesn't fit our taste personally. Maybe
someone will like it, but at least it's something different out there on the shelf. There's been like an uptick in people seeking out specialty stores rather than going to the big box ones. Why do you think that is?
I think the awareness of authentic foods have become greater, accepted in the United States. I have to say something about the big markets, however. The big markets, the smart ones, are emulating the mama and papa, the small specialty market. They're trying to learn from them. I know me personally, many of them have come to me and asked many questions, taking photographs of my place, understanding what values we have in our business and how we run our business. In some of the real smart markets, within their big market, have specialty markets.
Yeah.
And so I think the days of mama and papa maybe are slowly fading away, and the big markets, the big box stores, as you might want to say, is going to give you the illusion that that's what they have. However, one thing I have to tell you, many of those places won't know your name, won't know your family, and you won't have them as a customer for multiple generations, because those generations will move and they'll go to a different place. So the Palos, we consider ourselves dinosaurs. A dinosaur that's still alive, hopefully for many more generations to come, but it's become more and more difficult in the whole specialty small market era.
Maybe that's why they're prized so much, because we know that they're shrinking, the number of specialty markets are shrinking, and that's why people who actually care are seeking them out, right? Would you think that's the reason?
I think so, and I think with the advent of a lot of farmers markets, we might be seeing some more of the awareness of where they want to get their food, where they want to get the food, where people care about the food and want to ensure that the quality is there. I hope there's more of an awareness on that. I hope it grows even further.
I know the craft beer industry is crazy. It's really hot, cool, hip. They're traveling to try beer in a different region. Do you think that's why people come to Beer Table, to kind of see what else and what cool stuff they can get?
It's mixed. I mean, we do have access to some. products that are limited or exclusive here and there. But I don't think that's the key. I think he was hitting on something that's really important to us. It is really important to know who people are and to remember them. And we've already said this, but that's just a big piece of it. All of our customers know that they can go to any of the big markets and buy exactly what we sell for a lot less money. And we have to sell it for that reason. They understand it. They want the experience. They want to talk to the great employee. They want the convenience of it, in our case. And it's not about buying in bulk. It's about buying good stuff when you want it.
Any last words before we wrap?
Well, for sure, I'd like to see the continuation of the small markets. I'd like to see the awareness of the specialty foods, the understanding of authentic foods, whether it be from Italy, from another country, or made here in the United States, where we make wonderful products as well. The growth of higher quality foods. Remember, this is our temple. This is where we have to put into ourselves the best. The most important thing we buy is good food for our well-being. And the awareness to the American consumer, yes, it's taking place. There is a revolution of wanting to eat quality foods, quality produce, quality cheese and meats and stuff. And I just hope it continues and goes further to the next level.
Great. Anything you'd like to add, Justin?
I think I'm good.
Well, stop by Beer Table, right?
All right, please do.
And DePaulo Fine Foods. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Agnes Shang Taldi. See you next time.